Hello, tourism class. Welcome to the grade 11 June examination discussion. All right, the total number of marks for this particular paper is 150 marks. Then the duration is indicated as 2 hours, 30 minutes. Then the instructions, the main instruction we should go through is that it consists of 5 sections and you're required to answer all questions. Then you're also reminded to use the marker location on each question as a guide to the length of your answer. So these are the basics which you need to know. Then in terms of the structure, it is short questions, that's your multiple choice questions and matching of columns. Then we also have the section on marketing, specifically on marketing. We also have culture and heritage tourism as one aspect which will be examined. Then we also have tourism sectors. So there's also the next section, which is section A, domestic, regional, and international tourism. So when you add all these sections, they'll give you a total of 150 marks. So we are going to start with the short questions. So on your screen then, you have them, short questions. So question number 1, 4 options are provided as answers to the following questions. Choose the answer and write only the letter A or D next to the question number 1.1.1 to 1.1.15 in the answer book, for example, 1.1.6D. So the first question reads, Lanceria is an example of A. So when we are looking at Lanceria, the correct response or the correct answer for Lanceria then, it is an example of a privately owned airport. We know that all the other airports which we have, they are actually controlled by an organization which is known as AXA. So Lanceria is an example of a privately owned airport. So the correct letter in that regard would be the letter C. Then moving on to question 1.1.2, a flight that lasts between 3 to 6 hours. When a flight lasts between 3 to 6 hours, we refer to that as it is known as a medium haul flight. When a flight lasts between 3 to 6 hours, it is known as a medium haul flight. So the correct answer in this regard would be the letter B. So I'm going to highlight the letter B for reference there. So it is known as a medium haul flight, which is represented by the letter B. Then moving on to 1.1.3, the configuration of an aircraft below is identified as. So the first thing which we need to identify, we need to see how the structure of this aircraft looks. Remember, this is how it looks from above. So here we have seat number 1, seat number 2. Then in the middle, we have the aisle, or we have the passage in which people can move in the middle. Then we have seats 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we have an aisle. Then 7, 8. Then we have the window side. So as you can see, this is actually a wide-bodied aircraft simply because it is wide from end to end. There are about 7 seats from one end to the next end. So we consider this to be a wide-bodied aircraft. So the correct answer in this regard will be C. It is considered to be wide-bodied aircraft simply because it has several seats across from side to side. So the correct answer in this regard, I'm going to write the correct answer as C. Then 1.1.4, luggage that has been checked in and can be collected from there. So which part of the airport can someone collect their luggage after it has been checked in? So where after checking in your luggage, you collect your luggage at an area known as the baggage claim area, which is represented by the letter D. So that area is known as the baggage claim area, which is represented by the letter D. So the baggage claim area is the area in which you can collect your luggage after it has been checked in. 1.1.5. The government agency that oversees the passenger rail services is known as. So apologies, there's a little bit of mismatch there. But the organization which we are looking for, it is known as PRASA. So PRASA is indicated by the letter A. PRASA, which is also written in full as Passenger Rail Transport of South Africa, is responsible for overseeing rail services. So this is our correct answer, which is PRASA, which refers to the Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa. So that is PRASA. It is responsible for overseeing passenger rail services. Then moving on to 1.6, the MSC Sinfonia is the name of a. So MSC stands for Mediterranean Shipping Company. So obviously your MSC Sinfonia will be the name of a cruise ship. So this is actually a name of a cruise ship. So our correct letter there will be the letter C. Then 1.1.7, a person who travels the same route every day to work and back is called a. So a person who travels the same route every day to work and back to his home is known as a commuter. So the letter D, yes, the correct answer, which is commuter. So we are going to take commuter as the correct answer there. It's represented by the letter D. Commuter would be the correct answer. Then moving on to 1.1.8, umngqusho is a popular dish for which culture? So the correct letter there, it is a popular dish in the Eastern Cape where we would find the Xhosa people. So it is a popular dish for that particular culture. So I'm going to indicate the letter A there. Then moving on to 1.1.9, a luxury train commonly known as the Pride of Africa. So a luxury train which represents the Pride of Africa is known as the Rovos Rail. It is known as the Rovos Rail. So the Rovos Rail is represented by the letter D. Also indicate the letter D on the side. So the reason why we have eliminated the other options is because if you look at the blue train, yes, it is luxurious, but it is not known as the Pride of Africa. The Gautrain is just a commuter train, which is also a little bit luxurious, but it won't reach the levels of the Rovos Rail. Then the Metro Rail is an ordinary commuter train. 1.10, an optional insurance that can be taken out when renting a car. So first thing which we need to do, we need to highlight the keyword there. We need to highlight the keyword there, which is an optional, which is optional. So we are looking at the one which is optional, which is not compulsory. So if you look at others, like the others, they are actually optional. They are actually compulsory. So, but we look at personal accident insurance, which is known as PI. This is an optional insurance. PI is an example of optional insurance. So we are going to take the letter A. Then structures older than years are considered structures older than years need a permit to rebuild. So in this case, we are taking the letter B. Those are structures which are older than 60 years. So which are older than 60 years. So the correct answer here would be B, which I will also highlight in green. Then the money a renter must pay if there is a problem with a rented vehicle's insurance claim is known as excess. It is known as excess. In insurance terms, they refer to that amount as excess. They refer to it as excess, which is represented by the letter C. A samosa is the traditional food of which particular culture? So if you look at a samosa, it originated in the Indian culture. So the correct answer there would be the letter C. It is part of Indian culture. Then 1.1.4, 1.1.1.14, it reads a flight designed to the specific needs of a client. So a flight which is designed or which is tailor-made for a client's domestic specific needs is known as a charter flight, because it will be designed to go in the particular direction which the client has specified. It is known as a charter flight, which is represented by the letter D. Then the next question reads, advertising using video walls is an example of electronic advertising. So this is an example of electronic advertising whereby you use or you make use of video walls. That is an example of electronic advertising. Moving on to the second question. So we are done with the multiple choice section, which was out of 15. Then moving on to the next section, give one term for each of the following descriptions by choosing a word or term from the list below. Write only the word or the term next to the question. So I'm moving on to the next page where you find the different tables. So we also have an example which appears there. For example, 1.2.6, if the correct answer is Gali, so you also take Gali, then you place it next to the question number. But in this case, I'll be writing just next to the question number there. So the first question reads, the passage between two rows, of seats on an aircraft is known as the, it is known as the L. It is known as the L. So I'm going to write the correct answer here. That is known as the L. So in this case, we are removing this one because we have made use of it. Then 1.2.2, the printout that you receive when booking using the internet. So remember, the internet is an electronic platform. So the ticket which you get is known as the e-ticket. After booking through the internet, you obtain a ticket which is known as an electronic ticket, which is shortened as e-ticket. Then 1.2.3, an area where the food is stored in an aircraft. So food is actually stored in a part which is called the galley. The galley, that is where food items are stored on an aircraft. So galley would be our correct answer, which I'll write next to question 1.2.3. Then 1.2.4, a printout that shows essential information like seat number. So your essential information like seat number, you are going to obtain it from a boarding pass. So the boarding pass would be our correct answer there. You obtain it from the boarding pass. That's where you obtain your information. Then boarding pass. Then 1.2.5, a row of seats that can only be occupied by able-bodied persons. So a row of seats that can only be occupied by able-bodied persons is called the emergency exits. The emergency exits can only be occupied by able-bodied people. So I'm going to write emergency exit right below question 1.2.5. So this is emergency exits. Then 1.3, choose the correct words from those given in brackets. Write only the words next to the question number, e.g. 1.3.1, 1.3.5, e.g. 1.3.6 global. So moving on, right ahead. A market sector or segment is a group of tourism customers who have similar interests and characteristics. Our correct answer here would be market segment. Segment is the answer which we are looking for. So this is considered to be a market segment. We consider that to be a market segment. So I'll write segment. Then moving on to the next one, 1.3.2, the seasoned leisure or the high life enthusiasts, the seasoned leisure, or the high life enthusiasts consider traveling as a way of life or necessity. So this is done by the seasoned leisure seekers. The seasoned leisure seekers view traveling as a way of life. So the seasoned leisure seekers are the ones who consider traveling as a way of life or as a necessity. So it's seasoned leisure seekers. They are used to it. They are seasoned. So that's why they consider traveling as something which is normal to them. Then moving on to the next one. Well-to-do Mzansi families or New Horizon families have a very high disposable income and like to enjoy spending quality time with their families and broaden their children's perspective. So in addition, when it comes to this one, we all right. When it comes to this one, 1.3, well-to-do Mzansi families have high disposable income and they would like to enjoy. So this is something which the well-to-do Mzansi families enjoy doing. This is mainly for the well-to-do Mzansi families. Those are the ones who enjoy. So the seasoned leisure seekers consider traveling as a way of life and a necessity. Then the well-to-do Mzansi families have a very high disposable income and like to enjoy spending quality time with their families and broaden their children's perspective. Now moving on to 1.3.4, domestic travel is the quickest and easiest way to enjoy valuable and enviable world-class experiences. So this is done by people who are called the high life enthusiasts. For them, domestic travel is the quickest way and easiest way to enjoy valuable and enviable world-class experiences. So this is high life enthusiasts. Then 1.3.5, seasoned leisure seekers or New Horizon families like to make use of specials on flights. So these are the New Horizon families. They like to take advantage of specials, to use specials on, and also on accommodation for a holiday. So this will be New Horizon families. So this brings us to the end of the question on different market segments. So it is a very, very important concept which you should master. Now, moving on to the next question, we have the instruction: choose an element of culture from column B that matches the picture of cultural uniqueness in column A. Write only the letter A to F next to the question number, e.g. 1.1.1, 1.4.1 up to 1.4.5 in the answer book, for example, 1.4.6H. So we do have 1.4.1. We do have images which appear there. These basically images of drums, the traditional drum. So we need to match it with the appropriate column there. So when we look at this, the traditional drum, it goes together with art. So this is an expression of art. So C, art, will be our correct answer. This is it's not drum such that is actually these clay clay pots which are painted in in Ndebele art painting. So point of correction, actually what we have, these are ceramic vessels which are painted using the Ndebele paint. So this is a form of expression of art. 1.4.2, we do have people who are performing the gambut dance. So this resonates well with D. So this will be D. These people are actually dancing. So this is D. The correct answer will be D. Then 1.4.3, this is a traditional healer. So this matches traditional healing. So our correct answer there would be B, traditional healing. This goes together with traditional healing. You can see that that's a Sangoma who is performing his practice there. So this is traditional healing. Then 1.4.4, we have a lady who is in traditional attire. So this constitutes part of dress. So this is dress as a form of expression, as a form of artistic or cultural expression. So E, dress. Then we move on to that. We can see that this is a particular type of a meal. It is a particular type of a meal. So we can also call this one A, that is cuisine. It has something to do with food and drink. So this is part of cuisine. So which brings us to the end of this particular question. Now let's move on to the next question. So just a rundown before we go. So 1.4.1 is represented by the vessels or the ceramic vessels which are painted in developed art. So that is a representation of art. Then 1.4.2, that is the gambut dance. 1.4.3, that is traditional healing. Then E represents the dress. Then A represents the cuisine, which has something to do with food. Then let's move on to section B, tour planning. So we have marketing, the topic marketing then. Study the picture below and answer the questions that follow. So we are going to have a look at the picture which appears there. There is a picture which appears there. There is an advert which is showing the Pizza Palace, your local Pizza Palace is open Wednesday, 1100 hours to 23:30. Then they are also showing the location there. Then it is being projected on a television screen. Then we also have home entertainment systems there. So this is a television screen. This is a television advert which is being aired on live television. So now our question requires us to explain the importance of market research. So market research is important because it establishes the needs of the tourist. So market research is important because it establishes the needs of the tourists. So why do we need to know the needs of the tourists? In order to provide facilities and services that match the customer's needs, suitable for the customer. Without market research, a business cannot survive, simply because they won't have the information, the right information of designing the tailor-made products which suit a customer's taste and preferences. So market research is very, very important, simply because it establishes the needs, the preferences, and the taste of the tourists, such that when they are designing certain products, they design products which match the needs of those particular tourists. So overall, it also makes marketing more effective. Market research makes marketing much more effective. Market research, it makes marketing more effective. So without market research, marketing won't be that much effective. So it enhances the efficacy of market research. Now moving on to 2.1.2, name two examples of the type of information that can be gathered through market research. So when you conduct market research, you're most likely going to encounter or come across this type of information, which is now important for you as a business person when you're designing products. So two examples of the type of information which can be gathered. So we do have customer preferences. What do the customers prefer? So the first thing is customer preferences. Do they prefer coffee or do they prefer tea? So you get to find their customer preferences. Do they prefer to go for leisure activities or do they prefer to do cultural or educational activities? So these are the customer preferences which we are talking about. Then, so we also get to know which product is best, which product sells are best. Remember, the business of tourism relies on sales. So if you design or you come up with a product which does not sell, you're most likely going to be unsuccessful. So you need to determine which product sells best. So that is the importance of market research, which product sells best. In addition to that, you also, prepare, it enhances. You can also come up with information on affordability. It also informs businesses about affordability. How much can they afford or how much are they willing to pay for a particular product? So it gives them an opportunity to determine the affordability such that when you design a particular product or when you launch a particular product, you must make sure that it matches the affordability rate of that particular market segment. In addition to that, we need also to move to 2.1. Each reads, identify the type of promotional technique used in the picture above. So let's refer back to the picture which is above. If you look at the picture, like I said earlier on, you find there's a television screen. There is also the sound system or the entertainment system. So this is basically a television advert, which is being aired on live television. So when we are looking at television adverts, they fit in the category of above the line marketing. I think I should also stress that there are two types of marketing techniques which we have. We have above the line and we also have below the line. When we are talking about above the line, we are talking about that marketing technique which appeals to more people, which reaches more people in at one go. So this is an example of an above the line marketing technique. So this is above the line marketing. Through a television advertisement. Advert. Why are we saying that? Simply because it is an example of mass media. Television engages quite a number of people at one go. Then give a reason, simply because it uses, this is the reason now, above television is an example of mass media. Which reaches a larger audience. A larger audience. Then 2.2.3, provide one reason why this technique is identified in question 2 will be effective. All right, it will be effective simply because it reaches several people at one go in a short space of time. So it reaches several people at one go in a short space of time. So that's why we call it, we say that it can be an effective marketing tool. Then the question requires us. This is now 2.4. I'll highlight it using a different color for the sake of clarity. Then now moving on to the next one. Mention one other promotional technique that is used to advertise smaller target markets. So when you're targeting the smaller target markets, you can actually make use of what? Of below the line marketing techniques can be used for this type of marketing. So when you talk about below the line, we are talking about personal selling, through telephone calls, personal phone calls, personal selling through phone calls. Now moving on to the next one, 2.3. Study and complete the diagram below on different costs involved in the marketing budget. Write the question number 2.3.1 to 2.3.4, the answer. So 2.3.1, it requires us to provide, give a definition of the term marketing budget. So when we talk about the marketing budget, all right, let me first project it on a large screen. All right, so we are starting with this one, a market budget. A market budget, it refers to the money a company is prepared to spend on marketing activities. So this is a definition of the marketing budget. We are talking about the money which a company is prepared to spend on marketing activities. Then when you talk about travel, define the next one. We are moving on to the next one now. 2.3.2, name the cost described, cost providing details about a product service to the customer, like pamphlets, telecom, yes. So this is known as, we refer this to as communication costs. These are referred to as communication the costs providing details about the product or service like the customer through the use of pamphlets, websites. These are methods of communication. So we call those communication costs. Now 2.3.3, define travel costs. So travel costs, essentially, these are, when you talk about travel costs, we are talking basically about transportation costs. Transportation costs. So how are people transported through air travel? They need road travel, fuel costs, bus fares. Yes, of transporting people who do marketing from point A to point B, transporting marketing material from point A to point B. So these are all costs which are associated with that. Then 2.3.4, name the cost described, reimbursement for individuals responsible for marketing, tourism, destinations, and services. So these are called personnel costs. Personnel are the people who actually do the work on the ground. So these are known as personnel costs, or you can call them staff costs or human resource staff costs, HR costs. So these are personnel costs, staff costs, or human resource costs. So that is 2.3.4. So just a quick rundown. 2.31, define, give the definition for the marketing budget, the money a company is prepared to spend on marketing activities. And name the cost described. Cost providing details about the product or service through pamphlets, websites, and telephone costs are known as communication costs. Define travel costs, transportation, air travel, road travel. All these are known as travel cost. Fuel cost, bus fares. All these are known as travel cost. Then the cost described through the reimbursement of individuals responsible for marketing, tourism, destination, and service. These are known as personnel costs. Now, moving on to the next section, culture, heritage, and tourism. So the question reads, culture, tourism. Refer to the picture below and answer the questions that follow. Cultural tourism, an experience in uniqueness and diversity. Kwaito music is iconic to South African party and music culture, and has a massively important place in the country's history. Beginning in the Soweto Township in the 90s, Kwaito quickly took over the country, took over townships across the country. Kwaito is much more than just music. It is an expression of and validation of a way of life. Kwaito has been described as a way South Africans dress, talk, and dance. Write paragraphs about South Africa's unique cultural uniqueness, focusing on the following: the importance of music and dance to South African culture, 2 ways how Kwaito can attract tourists to South Africa, 2 ways in which cultural tourism adds to the economy of South Africa. So we need, the first paragraph is going to be on the importance of music and dance to South African culture. So I would write the paragraph or the points to include in the paragraph below. So, music and dance is important to the South African culture because it is an expression of culture. So the first point is that it is an expression of culture. Then, as it is an expression of culture, lyrics, these are the words in the songs, address social issues. So singers sing about social issues. The social issues can be love issues, it can be poverty issues, it can be family issues. They also talk about racism, violence, poverty, and inequality. So lyrics are used to identify, to address issues such as poverty, racism, violence, and inequality. All right. So also music and dance are a form of cultural celebration. They are used as a form of cultural celebration. Music and dance are used as a form of cultural celebration. Then they are also used as forms of entertainment and recreation. And recreation. In addition to that, now we need also to discuss the second paragraph, which I'll write using a different color then. 2 ways in which cultural tourism adds to the economy of South Africa. All right, cultural tourism can attract tourists who visit to listen and watch cultural activities, dances, and music. The performers get job opportunities and sources of income. New economic opportunities such as selling food, cultural cuisine or food can be realized. So these are some of the benefits which we can get from cultural tourism. So which brings us to the end of this question. Now moving on to question 4. Write the acronym SARA in full. SARA refers to the South African Heritage Resources Agency. That is the full meaning of the term SARA. All right. So the functions of SARA. Describe one function of SARA. SARA is a lot of functions. So the first thing is protection of heritage. Of SA's heritage. In addition to that, we can also say that SARA is responsible for, it is also responsible for identifying heritage resources. It is responsible for identifying heritage sites, heritage resources. Then 4.3, give 2 reasons why it is important to protect our heritage resources. Why should we protect heritage? So we protect heritage for future generations, people who are going to come and live after us. They need also to enjoy the heritage which you enjoyed for future generations. That is the first reason. Then the second reason, for the sake of, for economic reasons. Because heritage can be used, heritage brings wealth to the country. Heritage can actually bring wealth to the country. So that's why we need to protect heritage resources. Now, moving on to the next question. It requires us to study the pictures below and answer the questions that follow. So let's carefully study the picture below. So we have A, we also have B, we also have C, then we also have D. So the top achievers of grade 11 tourism schools in Gautrain were tasked with assisting SARA in protecting World Heritage Sites. Pictures A, B, C, and D show some of the categories that require a permit and are protected under certain regulations. Identify each of them categories labeled A, B, C, and D. So basically, we are identifying the categories there. So looking at the first category, so I think you can see that this is actually a ship which actually wrecked. So this is a shipwreck. Category A, this is a shipwreck. That is a shipwreck. Then if you look at B, this is a structure. It's rare to find these structures these days. This is old architecture. So this can be considered to be structures older than 60 years. Older than 60 years. These are structures which are older than 60 years. So that is B. When we look at C, this is what you call it, an excavation of a paleontological site. I think you can see that this is a skull, or this is a skull and the skeleton of a dinosaur. So this is a paleontological site. So this is an example of a paleontological sites. Then the next one, D, this is an example of an archaeological site where they found human remains. This is an example of an archaeological site. So let me go through it once again. A is a shipwreck. B, structures older than 60 years. C, paleontological sites. D, archaeological sites. Then moving on to the next question. So 4.4.2, write the letters A, B, C, D, state which regulation is applicable to such categories. So let's start with the letter A. When you look at the letter A, that is a shipwreck. So when it comes to shipwrecks, the regulation is that visitors may not take pieces. May not remove any piece of the shipwreck. Pieces of the shipwreck. So if you're a visitor, you are prohibited from taking any piece of the shipwreck, simply because it needs to be preserved as it is for the future generations. Now let's look at B. If you look at B, these are structures older than 60 years. Older than 60 years. Should not be developed, demolished, they should not be developed or demolished without permission. And this is special permission. So that is structures older than 60 years. Then moving on to C, if you look at C, that's a paleontological site where you find skeletons of ancient animals such as dinosaurs. Okay, only qualified people should work with skeletons. Only qualified people should work with skeletons. Okay, so moving on to D. Archaeological sites. The same applies. Only qualified people are required. And authorized people People work with skulls and skeletons. All right, moving on to question 5. Transports. List any 3 major international airports which are managed by AXA. So we start with OR Tambo in Johannesburg. That would be the first one. Then the second one will be Cape Town International Airport. Then the next one will be King Shaka International. So these are the major international airports which are located in South Africa, which are managed by AXA. Then moving on to domestic flights. We need a definition for the term domestic flight. So when you're talking about a domestic flight, a flight traveling within the borders of South Africa. The borders of South Africa. Then when we move on to the next one, transcontinental flight, it travels across a single continent. Then when we look at an international flight a flight crossing international borders. International borders, it crosses borders. For example, from South Africa to Eswatini. That's an international flight, or from South Africa to France. That's an international flight, simply because it has crossed a border. All right, now 5.1.3, discuss 2 safety procedures that are explained by the cabin staff before an airplane departs. So there are quite a number of procedures which are explained by air hostesses or flight attendants before the departure of an aeroplane. So the first thing is how to use an oxygen mask. That is number 1, how to use an oxygen mask. Then tray tables should be folded before departure. In addition to that, fastening of seat belts. Then in addition to that, evacuation procedures. So the question required 2, but we have managed to list 4 of them then, or to discuss 4 of them now. Then refer to the map of Gautrain routes and answer the questions that follow. So basically, this is a map of the Gautrain routes. It starts from Hatfield, then where there is also a metro rail station somewhere there. Then from there is also metro rail here, Centurion, Midrand, Rodsfield. So the question now reads, identify the stations labeled A and B. So the stations which are mentioned A and B. A, this will be Pretoria. B, that which is in between Marlborough and Rosebank, this will be Santon. So that is A and B. Then, next question. Explain one way you can pay for a Gautrain ride. So if you want to pay for a Gautrain ride, you purchase a gold card, then load money onto that on the card. That is how you pay for Gautrain. Then 5.2.3, provide one positive impact that the Gautrain has on the environment. The Gautrain has reduced cars or traffic which reduce carbon emissions. So simply because of the Gautrain, less cars are on the road, which results in reduced carbon emissions as well. Then 5.2.4, describe two ways how the Gautrain accommodates passengers in wheelchairs. Discuss two ways in which how the Gautrain accommodates passengers with wheelchairs. So passengers with wheelchairs with wheelchairs so passengers with wheelchairs, you have more space to accommodate wheelchairs. So there's more space to accommodate wheelchairs. In addition to that, the rail cars and the platforms are on the same level. Are on the same level. So rail cars and platforms are on the same level, which makes it easier for getting onto the train and also for disembarking from the train. So they are on the level. They're on the same level. There is no gap like what you see in metro rail. So this enables the easy movement of wheelchair, or it enables easy wheelchair access. Now moving on to the next question. MSC Splendida, Durban to Norway. So that's the name of the route, is Durban to Norway. That sounds also weird. So more dates available from the 24th of November 2023, then also 23 to 26 November 23. So we do also have a route there. This is the map of South Africa, the Indian Ocean. So then this is the route or the direction of travel. Then ship leaves the port of Durban back to the port of Durban, which brings us to our next question. Okay, 5.3.1. The different levels on a cruise ship are known as, they are referred to as decks. The different levels are referred to as decks. So there are various decks on a ship. Then study the route map for this specific cruise. Explain the meaning of the name of the cruise, Durban to Norway. So what it essentially means is that the ship sails from the port of Durban to the sea and back to Durban again. Durban and back to Durban again. So basically what we are saying is that if you look, let me take you back to the image. So this ship, it actually sails from the port of Durban. This is the departure point. Then it goes into sea. Then it comes back to the port of what? Of Durban again. So it means that the ship does not dock on another port. It leaves Durban, then it comes back to Durban. So it operates on a circular route. Then we need a distinction or a differentiation between an inside cabin. I'll start with an inside cabin. The question says, differentiate between the following concepts: an inside cabin and an outside cabin. So an inside cabin, like its name, it is on the inside. Inside, and does not have access. It does not have access to portholes. Portholes are these little windows which you use to view the ocean with. To portholes to view the sea or to view the ocean. So there are some of these underground. There are some little windows which you can use to view the sea. So in an inside cabin, you do not have access. It does not have those portholes. So you can also add that this one is cheaper. It is cheaper when you're buying a ticket for a cruise ship. This is a cheaper option. So you can say that this is cheaper as well. Now looking at the second part, the outside cabin, it is on the outside. It has portholes. Which allows passengers to view the sea. To view the sea. So this one is more expensive. It is more expensive. You pay more for the outside cabin. So that is the main difference between the first and the inside cabin and outside. Just for emphasis, the inside cabin, it is on the inside and it does not have access to the portholes. It is cheaper. Then the outside cabin, it is on the outside. You have access to the portholes and it is much more expensive. So the ticket for that one will be more expensive. So that is question 5.3.3. So differentiate between the following concepts: a facility and entertainment. When you look at a facility, these are amenities which tourists can use. E.g., gym facilities, a swimming pool. These are examples of facilities. On the other hand, entertainment. These are the activities which guests or tourists can do for fun. These are activities which tourists can do for fun, e.g., live shows, games, movies, concerts. So that's the main difference between facilities. When you look at facilities, these are amenities which the tourists can use whilst they are in a cruise liner, such as a gym, a swimming pool, etc. But entertainment, these are the activities which tourists can do for fun: live shows, concerts, movies, etc. Now, moving on to the next question. The tourism bus industry, the bus, we have the Greyhound, we have a tourist city sight seeing bus. Then the question reads, identify the type of tourist that would be interested in taking a trip in bus labeled A. So the bus which is labeled A, it is also known as the bus. It is a hop on off South Africa door to door. So the type of tourist who can take this one is known as a backpacker tourist. It is appropriate for a backpacker tourist. A backpacker tourist. Then in addition to that, you can also say that it is appropriate for low budget explorers, people who just want to explore on a low budget. Yes, they can use this bus. Then moving on to 5.4.2, the buses depicted in pictures A and C are both hop on and off buses. So define the term hop on and off. So this means that one ticket is bought for a specific day. The passenger can drop off at a destination of choice. So they choose where they would want to get on or get off. Then 5.4.3, explain the difference between buses labeled B and C. So we are going back to the image. This is B, this is C. B, you can see that this is a slip liner. So I'm going to point out the differences there. So with the slip liner, the difference is that this is a slip liner or a sleeper coach or slip liner. More comfortable seats. More leg room. Reclining seats. It is reclining seats. Then suitable for long distance. Now let's go to the other one so that we can contrast this one to that one. So when you look at the city sightseeing bus, so this is called the city sightseeing bus. It is open on the top. It is open on the top for viewing. Then in addition to that, it has, you can also indicate that it is suitable for short city tours, not for longer distance. It is suitable for short city tours. So that is the main difference between these two buses. All right, let's move on to the next one. Mention 2 ways in which the trip on board the bus B is labeled as more comfortable. So there's more leg room. There's more leg room. You also have reclining seats. There are also reading lights. In addition to reading lights, we also have air conditioning. So these are all reasons why B is much more comfortable. 5.5, study the car rental extract and answer the questions that follow. Easy bed deals, www.easycar.co.za. Call 071-596-3808 from 299 per day. Easy car rentals. 5.5.1, identify the car rental company in the advertisements above. So this is the name of the car rental company. This is Easy Car Rental Companies. Why are we saying so? Simply because they even indicated that this is their trademark. That is their trade name. So this is Easy Car Rentals. That's Easy Car Rentals. Then 5.5.2, name 2 documents that are required to rent a vehicle. So in order for you to rent a vehicle, you must produce a valid driver's license. And also an identity document. Name the preferred payment method when renting a vehicle. That is a credit card. A credit card. Give one reason why rental companies prefer the method of payment. They need to ensure that the client is capable of paying rental fees and related costs and any other related costs. So that's the reason why they want that. Now, 5.5.4, it is an insurance type of question. Discuss the differences between collision damage waiver and theft loss waiver. So I'll start with this one. Collision damage waiver pays excess in the event of a crash or collision. Then this one, TLW, it pays for excess in the event of thefts, car thefts. If the car is stolen, they pay for the what? For the excess. So that is the difference between these two. So the first one, collision damage waiver, pays for excess in the event of a car crash or collision. Then the second one, it pays in the event of car theft. Now, let's move on to the next one. Section E, domestic, regional, and international tourism. Study the picture below and answer the questions that follow. Explain the term domestic tourism. So domestic tourism refers to traveling within the borders of a country for a period of more than 24 hours. So we are saying that domestic tourists, they travel within the same country. For example, in South Africa, they travel within South Africa and they have to spend at least a night in the new place which they are visiting. So that's what we call domestic tourists. Then the organization, complete the sentence, the organization responsible for short-left marketing campaign is known as South Africa Tourism. and it is abbreviated as SA Tourism. Then 6.3, explain one reason why it is important to focus on the growth of the domestic tourism market. All right. The growth of domestic tourism creates new jobs, boosts GDP, and also it is an untapped market. So there's so much in domestic tourism. It boosts tourism, it creates new jobs, it creates new economic opportunities, boosts GDP. It also results in the multiplier effects. Domestic tourism results in the multiplier effect. The multiplier effect is when money gained in tourism industry flows to other sectors of the economy. That is what we refer to as the multiplier effect. It's actually good for the economy. Then discuss the term seasonality. When you're talking about seasonality, we are talking about seasonality refers to seasonal traveling. It refers to seasonal traveling by tourists. It refers to seasonal traveling by tourists. For example, in South Africa, you find that tourists usually travel during what peak months, which are mainly the Easter holidays during Christmas and Easter, e.g. in SA, people mostly travel during Christmas and Easter holidays. During Easter and Christmas. All right, now moving on to 6.5. 6.5 indicates two ways in which seasonality can be offered. So companies, what they can actually do, they can encourage people to travel during off seasons by introducing discounts. So this one answers this one. Introducing off-season discounts. For example, they say 15% discount for people who travel in months which are not December and which are not April. Travel discounts. In addition to that, they can also, through effective marketing. Effective marketing. So marketing techniques can be introduced to discourage people from traveling only during peak seasons. So introducing off-season travel discounts through effective marketing techniques as well. Then the next question says, study the picture below. So we have a picture below. It has Table Mountain in the background, and this is the Cape Sea Point also in the background. Then we also have the open savanna region where we are coming across a giraffe, which is browsing on that acacia tree. Then the subheading reads, or the caption reads, Domestic Tourism Growth Strategy, which is also known as DTGS, Domestic, Regional, and International Tourism. List the 4 objectives outlined in the DTGS to improve domestic tourism in South Africa. So the 4 objectives are to increase to increase the following aspects. So the first aspects are to increase the volume of travelers. Of tourists, to increase the volume of tourists. Then to increase income spent by tourists.
So when you write on this.
So the first aim is to increase the volume of tourists arrivals in South Africa. The numbers of tourists should increase. Then to increase the income spent by the tourists. The amount of money which they spent on tourism-related activities should also increase. Then in addition to that, the other objective is to increase revenue. To increase the revenue. Then to increase revenue. Increase revenue. Then another objective is to increase the geographical spread. The geographical spread of tourism. To increase the geographical spread of tourism. Then in addition to that, there's also the need to enhance a travel culture. To enhance a travel culture amongst South Africans. South Africans. So let me go through them again. The first objective is to increase the volume of tourist arrivals. Or the volume of tourists in general. Then also to increase the income spent by the tourists. In addition to that, to increase the revenue spent or the money spent by tourists, to increase the geographical spread of tourism, simply means that instead of people visiting the traditional or the well-known places such as Durban and Cape Town, they can go to new places such as Bloemfontein. They can go to Mpumalanga. They can go to Limpopo. They can even go to new places in the Northern Cape and also in the Northwest province. Then 7.2 suggests 2 ways how tourism can or will positively impact on the economy of South Africa. So tourism, it creates new jobs. New job opportunities. So it solves the problem of unemployment. People can work in the tourism industry, in hotels, in the transport sector, in the attraction sector, as waiters, as flight attendants, as air hostesses, as pilots, as transport operators, travel agents. So it creates new job opportunities. In addition to that, tourism also increases the GDP of the country. It also increases the GDP of the country. In addition to that, it results in the multiplier effect. It results in the multiplier effect. It also results in the multiplier effect, whereby money generated in tourism ends up finding itself in other sectors of the economy. So if a tourist comes into South Africa and they spend money in a hotel, it means that the hotel will take that money to pay their workers. Then the workers, they also pay their rentals and their transport. And their transport operators pay for fuel, and it goes a long way. So the money will be spreading in different directions. That is what we refer to as the multiplier effect. So this brings us to the end of the discussion of this particular paper. Stay connected to Thunder Educ, then you get more of these sessions. Thank you so much.